welcome back to another episode of Not Ready to Grow Up. I'm your host, Omnia.
And I'm Chris.
One of our hosts is missing. Menna, my sister, is currently at work. She had school today as well. Or did she have school today? It was a snow day, so I don't think she had school today.
Snow day.
So she's at work right now. So it's just Chris and I. It's going to be a great episode.
We'll be carrying today.
We're really glad you guys enjoyed the very first episode. We got a lot of great feedback, and we're still trying to figure out all the technical stuff and working out the kinks. But once we have that down, it's going to be really good.
Yeah, for sure. We're still learning, the ropes, figuring out how to do stuff.
I also want to apologize for how loud my laugh was in the first episode. Every time I would listen to it in the car, everything would be fine. I don't know, you'd hear me so loud. I'd be startled by my own laugh.
Yeah.
Also, I fact-checked myself on some of the stuff I said because I was very, I was, so annoyed that I couldn't remember some of the things that I was saying. So, hold on, let me pull it up.
Did you say incorrect information in the first episode?
No, we couldn't find the information to correct me.
Oh, okay.
So the part where when I said the body remembers things the mind doesn't, it was from this podcast I listened to by a really well-known therapist named Esther Perel.
Mm-hmm.
And she I'm gonna pull up what her podcast is called, but she basically talks to couples. All of their identity is protected because of HIPAA, but they allow her to post about the therapy session. But in the therapy session, she basically talks to them about a lot of couples counseling, a lot of issues with families and relationships, and it's really interesting. But it's called Where Should We Begin with Esther Perel, and it's a really good psychotherapy counseling podcast.
So
anyone's into that.
The saying was the body remembers things that the mind doesn't.
Sometimes the body remembers. Yeah, and it was from her podcast.
That makes sense to me because something that I learned is that you don't. This is always a concept that's baffled me, but does anybody know the meme where it's when you're 4 years old and you suddenly gain consciousness? You know what I mean? Because you don't start processing long-term and short-term memories until the age of 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I have this just flashbulb memory. What's it called?
Flashbacks?
No. There's a term for it. A snapshot memory.
Oh yeah.
Of a very specific time where I was 4 years old, and all of a sudden, I just was aware of myself standing at this desk in my living room, and I was that's the earliest thing I can remember about my entire life, and I think that's the moment I gained consciousness, and it's so weird to think about, because I can't remember anything before the age of 4. But anyway, I learned that it's important to try and have a really healthy environment when raising a baby, even if they're 6 months old, because their body is going to know how to respond to stressors that their mind isn't going to remember. You know what I mean? So if you're yelling in front of your baby when they're 6 years old or 6 months old, oh my goodness
excuse me,
what was that? Freddie Benson is
Hi, Freddie Benson's back. I didn't learn from the first episode to mute my computer, so I apologize. Hopefully we'll get it in episode 3. Please continue.
It's okay.
It's probably Denise, our favorite, biggest fan.
It's Sam Puckett.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm Team Sadie.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we were... Damn, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so basically, the body remembers traumas and stuff that your mind doesn't.
Last week, when I was with my therapist... Yeah, therapy's great. I gotta get therapy. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
But, we can't talk about it. I'm just being dramatic. My therapist was saying that, the environment you're in and how you watch your parents cope with stress is how you learn to develop to cope
100%.
Through stress. So we talked about that for a little bit. So when you said that, I remembered that conversation. Wow, I remembered something therapy.
Fun fact, I don't know if you guys even knew this, my sister and I actually have the same therapist. And it's really funny because, I'll meet with my therapist on Monday and then my sister will meet on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So it's she's hearing two different perspectives of us, saying how stressed out we are because of our family. But, it's so weird because even though we're literally brother and sister, she can't, talk to us, talk to each other about what the other person says, obviously because of, HIPAA.
Yeah.
But, it's just funny.
Does she know you as your siblings?
Yeah. No, I've literally... So, the way my therapist and I meet is over FaceTime. So, I've literally just been in Rachel's living room with Rachel, and then my therapist calls me at 2 o'clock, and I'm just like, hey, Rachel and I are chilling. And she's like, hey.
That's just so really weird, because my mom and I, a couple years ago, she was seeing the therapist, and I was trying to see the therapist, too. And the therapist was, making it so difficult for me to meet with her because she was already seeing my mom.
Some therapists are...
And I was like, you're a family counselor and, like, you're supposed to be a trauma specialist. Like, even though might be a conflict of interest, but you're supposed to separate yourself, take away all of your biases and any other, like, implications on this family, and come in with, like, an open mindset and, like, show empathy for both sides of the story. So I was, like, really frustrated. She was very snarky, too, which I was like, you're not supposed to be snarky for a therapist.
Some therapists are really... They really bring in their personal biases and, like, their own personal emotions and reactions to, like, what you're selling them, which is not healthy at all.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to do that.
I had a therapist a year ago that was from my school, because in undergrad they offer you, like, free counseling services, and she was amazing. Like, her and I worked together for the entire fall semester and a little bit in winter break, and I loved her so much. And then she left the school to pursue with a different organization and stuff, so I was really sad when we had to end our sessions. The therapist I met last week, as I've been on a wait list for such a long time, almost like a month, but when I met with her, I like clicked with her instantly. And like I told her I try to be a good judge of character, and usually my first go around meeting someone, I usually like figure out in that moment if I like them or not, and 9 times out of 10 I'm always right about my feeling. I was like, with you, I felt very comfortable, and I was like, that's a good thing, because that means I already like you off the bat. It was very hard for my very first therapist where I didn't like her because she was snarky, and then my second one, after my first meeting with her, I thought she was great. So I'm very picky, and I was like, this is a good thing that I like you.
That's the most important thing, in my opinion, is just, like, regardless of how good a therapist is, no matter what their, like, you know, accomplishments are, what accolades they have, it's important just to feel comfortable with them. Like, I've had 3 therapists in my life. The first one, he was okay. You know, he was just, I guess, kind of, like, middle of the road. He was more of that, like, stereotypical armchair psychologist that would sit back and be like, and how did that make you feel? Just like the whole time, and I would never get any feedback.
Very psychoanalytic.
It would really just be me, like, trauma dumping, and there would be no reciprocation. And he'd be like, okay, yes, well, it's been 45 minutes, so yeah, I'll see you next week. And then my second therapist was just, like, kind of gross in the terms of, like, they would tell me, like, how they personally felt about my family members when I would tell them about things. Obviously, I don't want to, like, go into detail about that thing because my family members listen to this, but I would tell them something and they'd be like, that family member is just a dick. And I'd be like,
that you're not supposed to do that in therapy either. Like, the therapist shouldn't be imposing their opinion on someone in your family. That's not correct. They're supposed to be a neutral person, and they're supposed to help you identify what the issue is and help you find a course of action to best facilitate change for you. And especially if you go back in a situation where you're with a member of your family that could trigger something, you have the right skills to handle that situation.
Yeah, because if you feel a certain way about a family member, then you go to your therapist and they're like, no, you're right, they are a dick and blah blah blah, then it's like it's gonna be an echo chamber. You're just gonna keep feeling that way about your family member. You're not gonna feel any change. But this one I have right now with my sister, she's fantastic. And you know, she has, her method of therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy, but she also focuses on the neurological aspect and the nervous system aspect of it. So that's something she told me when we first started meeting, but we never really got into that until I would actually, like, learn about the core of my, like, anxieties and OCD and stuff like that. And something she told me that really resonated with me, so if any of you are dealing with anxiety, maybe you can relate to this, but anxiety is wired into everyone because at its core it's the fight or flight response. And when you have severe anxiety, it really, or, you know, severe panic attacks and stuff like that, it really is just a natural process that is incorrectly wired because it was trained incorrectly. You know, every human has an intrinsic sense of fight or flight, but when you go through trauma and when you exacerbate the anxiety and when you don't, you know, keep it under control and recognize that it's supposed to be a healthy thing, it just kind of gets out of control, and then you're left with having, you know, that constant feeling of a tight chest or like watery eyes and just like always feeling like you have shallow breathing and always feeling like you're in danger, that's a natural body process that's just been really blown out of the water. And for me, at least, helping understand how it works on a physical level helps me realize that it's not like a problem. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. But I can still find a solution to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, with the therapy I went to a year ago, she was skilled in lots of different counseling techniques, but each session we would do a little bit of something until one of them worked. A little bit of CBT we did, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. We did a little bit of that with the whole homework stuff by working on sensory things. Like, for example, like my to really stress in like my coping mechanism is to drink a lot of tea because it calms me down. And I've noticed that if I'm overly stressed, I'll have 2 to 3 cups of tea. So she would tell me, drink 1 cup, hold it in your hand, and do sensory, like homework is like do the sensory stuff. Hold it, feel the warmth in your hand.
Taste it.
Feel the taste in your mouth. Feel it go down your throat. Feel it warm your body. So that really helped me a lot because then that calmed me down that I didn't want to make a second cup.
Yeah.
Before our sessions ended, she recommended me to go see, I don't know the full name of it. I know the acronym, if Jack, our fact checker, can look it up, EMDR. It's an 8-step process. We did a little bit of it together. It goes basically into your consciousness. You pull out old repressed memories that could have caused trauma, your first sign of anxiety, and you create in your mind a safe space to go to every time something in your current life triggers that anxiety. And you create a box. It has to close and has to lock. Every time you have a negative stressor or an anxiety attack or something, whatever happened, put that in the box and shut it and lock it. Obviously, this is not physical. This is all in your mind. It helps develop skills. And there's different steps. It's an 8-step process, like I said. So there's different steps. So the therapist I'm seeing is skilled in EMDR, which I'm really excited because it was recommended to me a year ago, and it's really helps unpack that trauma because you can't change the people and the environment that may have caused it, but you can work on how you respond to not create more trauma within that environment.
Yeah.
And it's a great skill to have. Like, if there's the child in yourself that's still hurting, you can put that person in the safe room, and the adult you can take control for a little bit. It's all cognitive, so it's not like personality. No, it's just a cognitive. It's like a mindset. Like, you change your mindset.
Yeah, you hit that right on the dot. It's called eye movement desensitization. I don't even know.
Desensitization?
Yeah, and reprocessing.
Oh, I accidentally screenshot it. Sorry, Jack.
No, you're good. But you like the way you explained it, like with the 8-step process and every little detail was just spot on.
Yeah, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Yeah, I apologize for my pronunciation. But yeah, it was spot on. It's actually pronunciation.
Okay. Yeah, so I was recommended this, and I'm really excited to start it because
dude, that sounds like what I need. That sounds really good.
If you couldn't tell, that's the counseling grad student in me with all this information that I know.
No.
But the biggest thing, and actually, when my notes, I wrote this down, you talked about this in the last episode, and it made me remember it, and I don't know how we kind of segued into this in the first part of this podcast, but last week's episode, you said that you didn't want to pursue a psych degree anymore because you talked about your own trauma and like how you don't feel like you have your shit together yet, and you don't want to be carrying on other people's trauma until you figure out your own, which is why you kind of deterred from that career. And I didn't realize it in that moment, but now that we're having this conversation, the biggest thing they teach you in the counseling programs, that any counseling program that you enter, in mine specifically, they talked about how the biggest consumer of therapy and psychotherapy are other counselors and therapists and psychologists, and they always say you must go through treatment yourself to make sure all your issues and all your concerns are resolved before you treat someone else, because you don't want that to resurface while you're in therapy with somebody else. And there's 2 things. One is transference and one's countertransference. Transference is when the person is in therapy with you and they're like, as my therapist, you remind me of my grandparent, and my grandparent, I didn't like them, so I don't like you. That's transference. Now, countertransference is when the therapist is listening to their client talk about something that is triggering to them, and it triggers their feelings towards whatever they have in their history, and it starts to be reflected back onto the client in session. So that's one of the reasons they always say you must go to therapy yourself before you treat others, so that way you don't have those experiences. And if you do, it's okay. That's why you have like a supervisor to go to and like a colleague for you to talk that stuff out and figure out what boundary needs to be set in therapy. And if it gets to the point where maybe it's not working, then you would find another solution for what's best for the client. But I thought that when you said that, I was like, this is the biggest thing they teach us. And like, that's why I'm so big on therapy, why I'm so big on going to therapy, because I don't want to be in a position where I'm helping somebody and I can't keep my emotions in check and like my history in check.
Yeah, because you feel like responsible for that person in a way, and so when you feel like you have to push that responsibility onto someone else, it makes you feel like you failed. You know what I mean? Because it's like, the one thing I'm supposed to be able to do is hear all of these things and be able to help them, rather than letting my own personal experiences get in the way. But one thing I wish more people didn't see therapy as a thing where it's like shameful to go.
Yeah.
Or I wish there wasn't such a stigma around it, and that more people felt open to talking about it, because there really is nothing wrong with going to a therapist. I mean, it doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't mean you're a weak person. You know, everybody, there's always going to be something that you need help from somebody else figuring out, because in my eyes, your biggest enemy is yourself, you know, and it's very hard to do something like CBT on yourself, cognitive behavioral therapy on yourself, without at least understanding how to effectively do it. And I want to go back to like the locked box analogy, because my therapist actually told me something very similar. So I'm gonna remember that, but I'm gonna give a little bit of context. So I have really severe OCD. So something that something that happens to me, Jesus, is that I will have, it feels like my subconscious brain is extremely afraid of, like, take for example, COVID. When COVID started, I was like not really that concerned about it, because it just didn't, it wasn't like a present thing, you know. It was 5 people have it in Wisconsin, but the majority of people that have it are currently in Asia, so it's not something you need to worry about. But then when it started getting closer and closer, I started getting like more and more anxious about it, and my OCD really took a nosedive and really exploded when my grandfather passed away in September of 2020, and that was like my first experience with death. And I just realized how real it was, how permanent it was. And then we have reports of people dying from COVID, you know, getting pneumonia and dying from COVID, or dying from other complications due to COVID. And there would be these reports of, you know, you'd have shortness of breath as a severe symptom. You need to go to the hospital. And so that's something that really freaked me out. So for a while, my OCD with my, you know, of course, it's obsessive compulsive disorder. So my obsessive thoughts would be, what if you have COVID? What if you're sick? What if you're developing a fever? What if you wake up tomorrow and you can't breathe? What if you all of a sudden get shortness of breath in your sleep and then you die, or blah, blah, blah. And all these obsessive thoughts would lead to the compulsions. Well, what I would do is I would have compulsions to make sure that I still had like my sense of taste and my sense of smell. So what I would do is I had to smell like 10 different things to ensure that I could still smell. And even if I knew a distinct smell between 2 different things, my mind was convinced that it was just like an illusion. You know what I mean? I would have to eat several different things, because if I ate 2 things that tasted too similar, it wouldn't count. Or it got really bad to the point where for like 3 months, I legitimately felt like I couldn't breathe, because the only way I thought I was getting enough oxygen is if I was like taking huge heaving gulps of air. If I was just normally breathing through my nose, I felt like I wasn't getting enough oxygen. So I like physically trained myself to not get enough oxygen if I was just normally breathing. And so that's when I started seeing my therapist. So something that I went through, which maybe some of you can relate to, is a negative perspective to myself. Like, I would physically like call myself stupid because subconsciously I was so anxious. So it's almost like my physical self and my subconscious self were just completely disconnected, because I knew how irrational this OCD was, or still is to a certain degree, but subconsciously it's something that, you know, I couldn't help but do because I felt like I couldn't calm down unless I did it. So what my therapist brought to my attention was this thing called she called it like a door in the face kind of thing, because she told me whenever you start having obsessive thoughts, irrational thoughts, imagine that's just some sort of being in your mind that is trying to get you to feel a certain way, extremely anxious about something that you don't have any control over. You know, you only have control over it to a certain extent. So she said, just imagine yourself physically closing a door in the face of this being that is making you feel this way. Or you can even imagine yourself if you want to. Just make it known that you are physically closing the door, and imagine yourself closing the door in the face of yourself who is spewing out these obsessive and irrational thoughts. Or, like you said, putting them in a box and locking them. And just, you are physically putting it out of your mind. You know, like out of sight, out of mind. You're like telling yourself, I'm no longer going to associate with this. I'm going to put a distinct barrier in between myself and these thoughts. And like, it's so crazy how that actually works. You know, when I would have these obsessions, I would start, like, for example, I hadn't had a fever for like 2 years, so I forgot what it felt like. So I would feel like kind of hot, and you know, you just feel hot. You know, you're wearing hot clothes, but I would immediately assume like, oh, I'm getting a fever. So I would start obsessing over it. Like, what if I'm developing a fever? What if I get sick tonight? What if I get sicker tomorrow? Blah blah blah. So before all that even started, I would just imagine, nope. I would just slam a door in the face of it, and it would just, it obviously like wouldn't stop immediately, but it works wonders, like just halting the process in my mind and not letting myself like go along that train of thought any longer. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I'm taking a moment of silence for our thoughts.
Taking a moment of silence for my subconscious that I slammed the door in my face so much.
I don't call it OCD though. It sounds like, for me at least, it sounds like the definition of OCD, where you have an obsessive thought, so you do a compulsive behavior to subside the obsessive thoughts. But I don't know when this started, but for as long as I can remember, I would always bite my nails and pick out my fingers, to a point where now, like, people, when they look at my fingers, are like, why are your nails so small? Why do your fingers look like that? And it makes me more self-conscious when people point that out, but I don't think people understand why I do that, what's the root of the cause of behavior, and pointing it out doesn't make it any better, because then it makes me more anxious, and then it feeds more to my already intrusive negative thought process. Yeah. So, and I had this realization about like a year ago why I bite my nails so much, and I discovered it when I was driving. When I'm driving, I do a significant amount of nail biting. So, like, why am I doing that? And I remember I do a lot of my conversing with myself in my car, which a lot of people might think I'm crazy, but you do need to talk to yourself at some point, whether it's internally or externally. Like, my mom said when she was younger, like college age, she used to look at herself in the mirror and talk to herself in the mirror, which is how she would be able to relieve a lot of the stress that she would have being in college and stuff. For me, in the car, I was thinking to myself, why do I bite my nails so much, and why do I do it in the car? And that's when I realized the negative self-talk happens a lot when I'm by myself or when I'm in situations of stress. And so then I take it out on biting my nails because I'm doing this compulsive behavior to stop the thought processing. And a lot of the negative self-talk for me is, you're not good at X, Y, and Z. You're not good enough for this. You can't do this. Why is this person getting to do that and you can't? Why are you not as good as that person? And I start, in my mind, comparing myself to other people and why I'm not good enough for myself or for others, or what I'm doing in my life and why that's wrong. I'll start reminiscing over a conversation I had with somebody like 2 days ago, and I'm like, why'd you say this word like that? Why'd you bring this topic up to this person? Why did you act like that? Why did you do that? And then I start really negative self-talking myself that I can't stop it, so I start biting my nails. And like with COVID, if I'm masked on, I can't like do it. I just start picking at my nails. And so I've tried every method to stop, and it doesn't work. And like, my mom, when I was younger, would take me to doctor's office, like, how do you get to stop it? Like, it's a phase, she'll grow out of it. It is obviously not what happened. Yeah. In high school, I did a lot of nail biting too, and a lot of it was because the pressure they put on high school students to do well in school, and then there's like the whole like drama of high school in general, put me under so much stress. Like, I'll be in a class and feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not doing well, I'll be taking a test, and I'm like, wow, I'm stupid, and then I just sit and bite the crap out of my nails. Or then like someone will start an issue with me, and I'm like so fed up and so over it, and I just want it to stop, and I can't get it to stop. So I'm like, this person thinks you're this person thinks you're that, and then I just sit and bite my nails some more. So it's not exactly OCD, but it's just the whole obsessive thought processing, negative self-talk, using a compulsive behavior to stop that self-talk.
Yeah.
And the reason a lot of people with OCD have a hard time breaking that cycle is because they think if they don't do that compulsive behavior, like, their whole world's gonna fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never tried to stop myself from biting my nails. Like, if I tried, what would happen? But then that's the fear. Like, I don't want to stop because I don't know what's gonna happen. Then I'm gonna have to.
It's a fear of fear itself.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to confront those negative self. I'm gonna have to tell myself no.
Something that I don't know if maybe this will help, because I have been a lot better recently about my OCD, and to add into what you said a little bit, OCD is a spectrum. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like anything else. It's not like you either have OCD or you don't. You can have it, you know, a lot of people can have it and not realize it. I mean, it is just like anxiety disorder is absolutely a spectrum. Obsessive compulsive disorder is also a spectrum. You know, other people just happen to have it really bad. Other people just have it with, like, one aspect of their life.
And
Other
it depends
people
on, like, the intensity of the ritual that they're doing,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
what ritual it is, and if it's causing impairment in their life or not. Yeah.
My rituals used to be horrible, because I would end up being, like, late to work because I would be in the bathroom. The bathroom used to be a really bad place for me because I had, like, 4 different rituals that I could do in the bathroom, and so I just, like, wouldn't want to leave because I felt like being trapped in this constant cycle of, like, doing a ritual and these compulsive behaviors. Like, if I do them enough now, I won't have to do them for the rest of the day. So, like I said, I had the smelling and the tasting one. Obviously, I can't do the tasting one in the bathroom, but I would, like, smell, like, my deodorant and shit. But I knew that it was getting really bad when I would, like... I don't know why I did this. And this is really... I know how weird this is, and I know how weird it's going to sound, but just hear me out. So, I'm mostly saying this for the listeners. So, what I would do is I would, like, take the flashlight on my phone and, like, shine it in the back of my throat and, like, flex the back of my throat and my tongue to make sure that my throat wasn't closing up. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, if I have shortness of breath, it's because my throat's closing up. No, it's a problem in your lungs. Like, your throat's not going to physically close. It's just going to feel like it's closed. But I thought if I saw, I could convince myself that it wasn't closed. So it got to the point where it hurt to, like, swallow and it hurt to, like, talk because I had done this so much, you know? And so I finally kind of just said, I just don't want to live like this anymore. It's miserable. I hate, like, just feeling like when I'm in public I look like a psychopath because I'm, like, you know, smelling hand sanitizer and shit. It's just weird. So, and also, obviously, you can tell I haven't stopped biting my nails yet. Like, they still look pretty disgusting, but what my mom would do when I was a kid was she would put nail polish on my nails.
Oh, that doesn't work.
I would bite them anyway. It tasted like shit. It was
you would
horrible.
Just spit out the nail with the nail polish
so
because
good.
you just still wanted to get to that.
It was so gross. Yeah. Not even nail polish. She put nail polish remover on it, so it would just taste horrible. She would put, like, Band-Aids on my fingers, and I would just I
hated it. That's something my doctor recommended. You, like, do you put Band-Aids on it? I don't like the feeling of Band-Aids on it. Or, like, a year ago, my coworker, she's now a really great therapist and counselor. I'm, like, super proud of her. She would try to practice, like, some of her counseling skills on me. She'd put fake nails. I hated it. I did not like how long they were. I didn't like how they made me feel. I didn't like how I was typing or touching things. I ripped that shit off.
It's
like, I
so
ripped it off.
uncomfortable.
It was so annoying.
So what I did was, it really just takes, like, the willpower of realizing that even if you don't do the compulsion, your thoughts can't hurt you. Your thoughts only hurt you as much as you let them hurt you. So what I did was just, it's a really simple cognitive behavioral exercise where if you feel the need to do a compulsion, which nail biting is a really easy compulsion to do because your nails are right there. I mean, they're attached to your body. You can do it whenever you want. What I would do was, or what my therapist told me to do is, okay, if you find yourself in a spiral of thoughts, combine these tactics that you have. Lock your thoughts in a box and tell yourself, okay, if I still need to bite my nails in 10 minutes, I'll do it then. Or if I still need to, you know, shine a flashlight in the back of my throat in 10 minutes, I'll do it then. But for these 10 minutes, I know that I don't need to. I know that it's only a compulsion. And there's no legitimate reason. If I ask myself to come up with one actual reason that I need to do it, I can. You know? So just tell yourself, I'm going to do it in 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll see how I feel.
Yeah.
And it actually started working, you know. And by that time the 10 minutes was over, I had already shut down the obsessive thoughts. So it's not something that I needed. I felt the need to do a compulsion for. So
It's a lot of mind over matter concept. Like your brain is a very powerful, living, breathing thing because it's your brain's in your body, obviously. So it's very powerful in the way that it can change how our behavior is, how we act, how we function, and it's so easy to get caught up in what's going on inside your head.
Yeah.
It was a bit sad and gloomy in the first part, so let's liven the mood.
Would you guys like to hear a story about when I shit my pants in 8th grade?
I would.
No.
You would, Jason?
Me. No.
No?
No. Let's not just. What if someone's eating while they're listening to this?
Okay,
and then
trigger
they're
warning, I'm about to talk
No.
feces.
I'm imagining somebody taking a bite out of a sandwich and then they're just like listening to.
I'm not gonna go into detail.
That was like yesterday. My mom caught me trying to DoorDash myself McDonald's, and she's like, "What about the rest of us?" So I was like, "Fine." And so she like DoorDashed all of us to McDonald's. And
she wouldn't say that.
She really did walk into my room. She's like, "What about the rest of us?" She really. It was so funny though. I was like, "Okay, Mom," but we DoorDashed McDonald's to the house, and I was on my phone while eating McDonald's, watching because it came up on my For You page. I didn't actively seek it. It just came up on my For You page on TikTok, pimple popping videos, and my mom was like, "How can you eat and watch it?" And I was like, oh.
Are you one of those people who finds pimple popping videos satisfying?
No. I sit and but the problem is like I'm watching it and I'm like, and like I can't look away.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, what's happening next? But you know what is coming up on my For You page, which I'm like very like mesmerized by it. A lot of the pottery making ones.
Wow,
A lot of the
nice.
car cleaning ones, and the makeup repairing ones.
Yes.
Those are very satisfying.
Very good. All right. I was thinking that to lighten up the mood, we could tell like embarrassing things we did like as a kid, or like I don't know, just.
I have a lot of my childhood blocked out of my memory.
You don't have one story about when you like peed on the floor in your car?
No, I have a lot of pooping my pants stories like you did as a kid, but.
No, I don't have any pooping my pants stories as a kid. I actually pooped them when I was in 8th grade, so I really wasn't a kid. There was no excuse for why it happened. It just did.
No.
I don't like to think about it, to be honest.
Mine was in like preschool, or I like pooped my pants, and the teacher could see it like in my pants.
Ew, what the
and I was walking around, and she went up to me, she's like, "Did you poop yourself?" I go, "No." I just kept walking around.
Bro, okay. I don't know if anybody else did this, but when I was in pre-K, I used to have to strip naked to use the bathroom. I think I was afraid of like getting piss on my pants or something, because like I went to this little pre-K thing called like Children's Center for Discovery. And whenever you had to have like somebody take you to the bathroom, so I would go to the bathroom and I would go in, I would take off my shirt, take off my pants, take off everything. I'd put my shoes nice and neat next to the toilet, and I would just sit down and do my business, and then I would take another 5 minutes to get dressed again. And then I came out and they're like, "What took you so long?" And I'm like, "I just had to get undressed. Like, don't you understand?"
It was a ritual.
It was. I remember one time when I was in, I think, kindergarten, I peed on the floor in my room just because I wanted to see what would happen.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know why.
Okay, so actually that made me think of something. In undergrad, I worked at admissions, and a lot of the facilities people would stop by and like, if we needed anything cleaned or repaired or whatever, they'd come by and we'd talk with them for a little bit. And they told me some crazy stories about they hate cleaning the dorm rooms in between breaks and when no one's in on campus in the summer, because they would find like urine stains in the on the floor of the dorm rooms. In dorm rooms, flooring is carpeting. In the older buildings it's carpeting, but in the newer building it's hardwood floorings. But they said that it would be, they're like, what are these 18 to 22-year-olds doing in the dorm room? Like, why aren't you going to the bathroom?
Well, they're probably like drunk or something.
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't get to live on campus, so I couldn't tell you. But I just remember them saying these stories, and I'd feel so bad. I'm like, I am so sorry you have to go through that. It was just insane. I was like, what if
in the world?
Like, I'm gonna like, I don't want to go to the bathroom. I'll pop a squat right here, like, and live.
No,
and they lived with it like that too. That's the other crazy part. Like, the facilities people wouldn't know about it till like when people weren't in the room and they had to clean the room. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, urine smells.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you smelled a baby pee That's like literally what
Bro,
urine
Olivia
smells
has some like dude, Olivia's my niece. She's oh my god, it's her birthday today.
It's not her birthday.
No, it is. She turned 8 months old today.
Oh, I thought you meant
January
like
3rd.
1 year. I was really thinking she turned a year old today.
No,
she's
she
8 months old.
She won't turn a year until May.
Oh, you really had me thinking like she's a year.
No, well, obviously for babies, like the first year of their life, you know, it's like you got to celebrate every month, you know.
You know, I have a friend, and him and I talked about how we hate that people be like, "This is my baby. It's 24 months old."
No,
Just
it's 2
say
years
the
old,
dang
yeah.
year. You don't need to be saying 24 months old. Like, and then when he told me that, I said to him, "You should start doing that now," because his birthday's exactly a year and 24 hours before mine. He's born on July 22nd, and I'm July 23rd, but he's a year older than me. So I was telling him you should just look up how old you are. You're 23 years old in months. And just say that to people that piss them off, and they're like, "This baby is 24 months old." Oh, well, I'm like 300 and something months old. Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I was saying though, her shit is green.
Ew, ew, ew.
Dude,
Ew.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's like a baby thing or if it's the food she eats. She has not on solid food yet. She has mushy food, but like.
Disclaimer: we're talking about poop and pee in this episode.
Oh, it's a bit too late for that. I love the title of this episode should be introspection into types of therapy and mental disorders, as well as poop talk.
The therapy and history of human feces.
Honestly, I could go into that.
Okay, let's not.
Did you know that in Harry Potter, before they had bathrooms in Hogwarts, the wizards would just poop in their spot and then relieve themselves right there?
Did
you know that?
Is that really a Harry Potter fact?
Yeah, J.K. Rowling loves to just make shit up. She's honestly kind of annoying.
Never read the books, but I love the movies.
Me too.
Absolutely love it.
She'll like randomly tweet stuff to this day. Like, did you know that before they had toilets, the wizards would just poop their pants and then relieve themselves magically?
I don't really like J.K. Rowling because she has very controversial and questionable comments and opinions. And I've never read the books because if the book is bigger than my head, I'm not going to read it. That's my philosophy.
What do you mean? The books aren't. They're young adult.
Pretty thick.
They're young adult, but they're young adult books. You know, they're thick, but they're not like.
Alright, I ain't gonna read it either way. But the movies I absolutely love, and I think the reason I like the movies more is because it's based on J.K. Rowling's books. A lot of the titles, the characters, some similar storylines, but it's the adaptation of a director or a producer who read the book and said, "Well, this is how I see it."
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like it more. I also, I don't know, me and my brother just bond over Harry Potter. We, every couple years, we'll do a Harry Potter movie marathon. And the first time we did it was 3 years ago, and he really got into it so much that he wanted all things Harry Potter. And then on my 20th birthday, my family got me at Walmart for $20. You can get a mystery Harry Potter one. And it's like, it's from the Wizarding World too, like the Universal.
I got
and
one
it's for
when I
cheap.
went to Universal.
Well, those are expensive.
They are expensive,
but the cheap ones from Walmart, it's from the Wizarding World, but it's in a box and it's $20. And when you open it, you don't know whose wand you're getting. And I got Ron Weasley's, and I was so happy.
Aww.
And I lost it at the beach, but we're not going to talk about how I lost it because I was 20. I was at the beach with my friends for my birthday. Y'all can fill in the blanks on how I would have lost a Harry Potter wand at the beach on my 20th birthday. If you haven't figured it out, it's because I wasn't 21 yet. If you still haven't figured it out, you are really, really dumb.
No, I figured it out.
No, I'm talking about the listeners.
Oh.
Me, I'm going to get canceled after this post of not ready to grow up. Shames listeners. Like, yeah, I called y'all dumb. And what?
We're putting in a little disclaimer. Amne's not calling you dumb. She's calling the other listeners dumb. So, yeah. But, damn, what was I going to say? Olivia's shit is green, and then she pees a lot. Her pee smells like shit.
Okay, let's talk about anything other than human, like, excrement.
Okay. Human excrement.
No!
Okay. I just find her to be a very funny individual because people will tweet like, how come there are no Jewish students at Hogwarts? And rather than just being like, oh, well, you know, Hogwarts is a very large school, so there are students of all ethnicities and races and religious denominations at Hogwarts, but it just so happens that I didn't write the main characters that way. But you just say, yeah, there's like a bunch of Jewish people, a bunch of, you know, Muslim people, a bunch of like also Asian and Irish and friggin' just everybody. You know, you don't have to, like, specify. But J.K. Rowling just loves to not be wrong. So, like, somebody will tweet at her, like, how come there are no Jewish people? And she'll be like, oh, no, there was one Jewish student. His name was Anthony Goldstein from Ravenclaw. Like, that is the most stereotypical Jewish name.
Only one, too. Like, it's not like, oh,
there's it's funny. It's like, are there any Russian students? Yeah. Vladimir Ivanovich Vodkovich. And the one Asian student's named Cho Chang. It's just, I don't know.
She has a very racist undertone, too.
Yeah.
Like, if you...
She also, to appeal to the black community, she says that Hermione is black, which she's not. So, like, just stop lying, and people will stop making fun of you. It's just, like, I don't know.
This is so random, but I just remembered an embarrassing story for you.
Oh, yeah.
It was...
Is it worse than shitting your pants?
No, it just kind of tells you how, like, dumb I was as a kid.
Okay.
But I was, like, between the ages of 10 and 11, my parents had someone, it was like a colleague over for dinner just to talk about, like, I don't know, like, important adult stuff. I don't know, I was 10 or 11, I didn't care. He had a daughter that was around, like, 18, 19 years old, and he brought her along, and she was partially deaf. So she could read lips, and she could speak very well. It's just she was deaf in, I think, one or both ears, but one of them, like, you couldn't even put a hearing aid, like, she couldn't hear at all, and the other one she had a hearing aid in, but it was still very difficult for her to hear. We were outside, she was pushing me on, like, the swings, and when I got off, she was, like, asking me questions about, like, you know, what I like, what I do, and I'm, like, sitting here, like, wiping, like, the mulch and the dirt off my face, and, like, she obviously can't hear me, and, like, she's like, what'd you say? She's like, what'd you say? What'd you say? And I'm, like, repeating myself as I'm wiping my face. She goes, like, stop putting your hands on your face. I can't read your lips. And I remember feeling so embarrassed and so insensitive when she said that to me.
Well, you didn't know.
But I didn't know.
There's definitely a better way to go about that than, like, you stupid bitch.
Well, she didn't
wiping
say
your
that.
Face.
But it was like, I remember I just dropped my hands, kept them all beside me the whole time. I wouldn't even move them the whole time I was with her because I wanted her to be able to read my lips.
You should have just, like, done, like, ventriloquism and just been like, oh, I was just wondering, you know.
But it was like, I just felt really bad. I was very embarrassed. That's an embarrassing story.
How stupid can you be?
Another embarrassing story was when I was in 2nd grade, and I was in lunchtime, and I was going to the bathroom, and I was like I was like spinning around as I was going to the bathroom, like being a little 7-year-old in 2nd grade, like doing whatever, and I accidentally twirled all the way into the boys' bathroom but didn't know, and I go, wow, the girls' bathroom looks very different, and then this little boy comes out of the stall and goes, you're in the boys' bathroom, and I was like, oh, and I sprinted out into the girls' bathroom, and there was some girls in the bathroom, and I said, I just went into the boys' bathroom, and all the girls were like, oh my god, what did it look like? What was it like? What did the boys' bathroom look like? And I was like, oh, I have the hot gossip from the 2nd grade.
Boys' bathrooms suck. Like, anywhere you go, boys' bathrooms are, like, 5 times worse than female bathrooms. Like, you go to JCPenney, the women's bathroom is a lounge leading into their bathroom. The boys' bathroom is just, like, 2 stalls and 2 urinals. It sucks. Or, like, I used to work at this place called Mission Barbecue. The women's bathroom had nice music. It had nice wooden floors. It had nice, like, stained glass cabinets and a really nice marble sink. The boys' bathroom looked like a gas station bathroom.
Well, don't go to any bathroom in a bar because it doesn't matter men's or women's. It is the most disgusting place to be. You know who could vouch? Jack Wyman.
I can vouch.
What did you do?
I went to this bar in my college town, and there was a security guard standing there, and only a certain amount of people would go in because it was so crowded. Like, there were about 5 urinals or something like that, but you were, like, right next to that person.
Yeah.
And it was so dirty. And they had lollipops, like, by the sink, and I took a lollipop, and it was soaking wet.
Like, there's a bar I went to when I visited Jack, and when you go in the bathroom, there was 2 stalls and 1 sink. And there was writing all over the walls, like people would write all over the walls. Mm-hmm. But one of the stalls, the toilet was broken, so you had to use the one stall. And when you get to the bathroom, there's no paper towels, there's no soap, so like you're just putting your hands down. But it smelled rank. The floor was sticky and gross, and it was just like the mirror was crooked and like a little crack. Like people just have no bathroom etiquette, so it was just like, don't go to the bathroom.
Especially in high school, like you would go into the bathroom and there would just be a door missing. Or the entire stall would just be missing.
I don't remember. the year before I graduated in high school, the senior prank, people like messed with the sinks and like did something and it caused like a clog or like a blockage, and they had to block off all the bathrooms and everyone had to use this one set of bathrooms in one hallway because they had an administrator there monitoring it. Jack and Jason, do you guys remember? Because you guys were two grades below me when I was a junior, but remember the graduating class of 2016, their senior prank, they did something to the sinks in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Was that the bathroom by the cafeteria?
I don't remember which bathroom they did it to.
Because I remember that bathroom would always be, like, closed off or something.
My senior year, our senior prank wasn't even a real prank. They just all went up to the top of the staircase and dumped all their anything in their backpack out on the ground. I did not like that. One, it caused a traffic jam trying to get out of school. And our high school that we all went to was pretty overpopulated. So imagine you're trying to get out and leave, and you can't. That's one thing that made me mad. I was trying to leave that day. I was like, bro, I'm done. I like wanted to get out, and like they had so many people were stopping, trying to watch what this prank is. It wasn't even a prank. Two, no one stayed behind to clean it up, which I thought was so terrible to have the custodial staff do that.
I know. I felt so
bad. And then like the third thing is, what if you had like a binder or a calculator in there and it fell on someone's head and hit them in the head? Like, why open your back and dump the stuff inside of it? Like, that really got on my nerves. I could go on about high school, but I feel like if we have listeners from our high school listening to this, they'll probably be like, fuck you, Omnia. Oh, sorry, I never cursed, but it was like, oh, you're a terrible person. I'm just like, I literally didn't peak in high school. But yeah, you heard that. I didn't peak.
But it's still like really just obviously any senior prank is going to be disruptive, but there are like levels to it, you know what I mean? Like, for example, the senior prank my senior year, I'm pretty sure they just like set off firecrackers in the hallway, which is dangerous, yeah. But that year when they just like dumped all the papers and stuff, like, you know how long the janitors must have been there? Yeah. I felt so bad.
And then there's like the high school and the neighboring high school for us where they always like where they would like it was like bring your tractor to school day or something. Like they did like something like because they were a high school in the middle of a cornfield, like that's what they did. Or like what's the one the year before me, they had one of the students they lived like on a farm. They brought their cow in, or like some people, and like 2 years before I graduated high school, someone had put like cow manure outside the school. Like they did some like gross stuff.
Dude.
My year that I graduated, the neighboring high school to ours, I liked their senior prank. They all showed up to school early, got permission from the school to pretend to like create a campsite in the entryway of the school, in the school. So they all had like lawn chairs, tents, and they all just like sat there.
That's
cool.
That
they got permission to do it because they weren't doing anything to put anyone in harm's way or jeopardy. They just pretended like they were having like a camp, like they were camping at the entrance of the school or whatever, and like they got approval to do that. So that was cool. The one thing I didn't like, I don't know if you guys got to do that, but all the grades before my graduating year got to do this thing where instead of lunch, they all went out on the field hockey field and did the whole barbecue thing.
We did that.
And they did it all first they did it all they did it all without permission, but the school never really did anything about it. And then when my year came, two things that really got on my nerves was, one, they said you're not doing it at all. But then the students still ended up doing it. They said, fine, if you want to do it, you're only allowed to go during your lunch shift. You can't skip your entire class because we had lunch times at certain times during the period. And a lot of people were like annoyed because then like the people who set up this barbecue, that group of students, just skipped that whole block, and that's not fair. Like, so a lot of us would have to sneak out of class and go and do that.
Yeah, and my year they like made it so I'm 2 years after Omnia, so my year they gave us the option to do it for our entire third period. They're like, you can either go at the beginning or not go at all. So practically everybody went, and then one kid from my entire class, we probably had like 450 people in it, bought every single person a McDouble from McDonald's.
Shout out to that guy, for real.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, you're a legend. But he brought like 2 massive boxes of McDoubles, and everybody like got one.
Holy shit.
It was crazy.
That's so cool. No, nothing like that. Well, in college I got a lot of free stuff. I got a free rice cooker.
Really?
Still have it, yeah.
What?
Yeah. I have a free rice cooker that I got from college. No, I'm saving it for when I move out. No, I'm saving it from. I've never taken it out of the box. I have taken it out of the box to see it, but I've never used it. But it looks like my mom's rice cooker, but in a smaller form. And I told my mom that, like, I'm saving this for when I move out. But yeah, I got a free rice cooker.
I got three free T-shirts from my school.
I could outsell my college's bookstore because I have so many free T-shirts from going to so many events. And I've given a few to my sister and my brother because I was running out of room in my closet from the amount of free stuff. And then I donated a few because, like, obviously, like, I'm not going to wear it, like, all, like,
dude, I didn't
100
get
of them.
Jack from high school. Like, I never got anything, yeah.
When I worked in admissions in undergrad, I was a tour guide, and I got this free winter coat that said, like, Hood College on it, and it was so nice. It was, like, very fancy, and the material was really good. It kept you warm.
Yeah.
And they only gave it to the students who were hired in the fall semester. If you were hired in the spring semester, you didn't get it. I still wear that. My sister actually stole it from me because she was like, it's so comfy and it's so nice. I want another one, like, so bad.
I got free stuff from work. So I work at my school, too. And, like, they gave me free polos, and I got, like, a T-shirt from that, too. And then they also, like, sometimes give us free food as well, which is really nice. Like, I'll come to work, and, like, they'll be like, yo, we have pizza downstairs. Do you want some?
Yeah.
So that's pretty sick.
You know, I also work at my school, too, and I got a free polo, and sometimes I'm allowed to play basketball at my school's basketball stadium. And it's, like, a really nice one, and I've made, like, half-court shots. And I, like, pretend like I'm gonna go in and play. It's really cool.
Jack, you sound like we're doing a group presentation, and you sound like the kid that doesn't want to be there. So you just, like, stand in the corner, and you're like, for my part, I got food.
Yeah. Also, for reference, this man, college. Jack, right now is wearing pajamas and sunglasses inside of the house.
You know, it's a snow day, so why not?
It's not a snow day.
Oh my god, first of all, the snow day that, like, where I live, like, 25 minutes away from these guys. It is, like, completely covered in white. Like, it is, and it's slushy out. It is super snowy. On my way down here, I got here, and I was like, there is not a single snow on the ground. It's just grass. It's just, like, no snow here. And I was like, there is no way, like, with 25-minute difference from us, I'm, like, if you go to, it's like a winter wonderland where I live. Like, I took a video. Let me show you guys, because I was like, no way.
In Michigan, they have, like, feet of snow.
Yeah, no, my friend just got back from Detroit. This is what it looked like on my way
down here. Like, the trees are covered in snow.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, if you're listening to this, and so we're recording this right now on Monday, January 3rd. If you're listening to this, comment on, like, if you're listening to this on YouTube, or even just go to our Instagram at NotReadyToGrow. Just comment if you had snow, and if you did, how much snow you had.
Jack, Jason's doing a better job at marketing than you are right now.
Yeah, that's supposed to be your job.
You know, I'll start working harder on that.
It's okay. You don't. No, now I feel bad.
No, it's
I was just kidding.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Well, I'm starving.
Me too.
So should we go get food?
We should go get food.
Yeah. If you're listening to this podcast while you're eating, please tell us what you ate. You know, along with all the great things.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Not Ready to Grow Up. We actually hit 40 listeners after the first episode, which is crazy. I did not think that we'd have that. I told you, you're like, we're gonna have 3 listeners, but I'm okay with that.
First of all, fact check, 40. I said 2. Second,
you're right.
I know 40 is not a lot, but for us it's a big deal because that means 40 people, like, actually took the time to listen to us talk, and we talk way too much, especially to each other in private, so, like, I was like, okay, I'm glad someone liked hearing our rants.
I know, and hopefully you guys keep enjoying, and we're obviously happy that everyone who listened, hopefully you guys enjoy. You can obviously keep streaming on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You guys are doing great with that. Just be sure to turn on notifications to be the first to know when we release new episodes, which are going to come out every Thursday at noon, I believe. But if you want to find out first about new stuff we're doing, or obviously give us feedback, or, you know, send us memes or something, make sure you check us out on Instagram at NotReadyToGrow or TikTok at NRTGUPod. So our next episode after this one, which is going to release on Thursday, January 6th, I believe, or the 7th, is going to be our first episode with guests, so make sure to tune into that one next week. But thank you guys again. We'll see you in the next one. Hope you guys all are staying safe. Hopefully, if you guys got snow, you're able to enjoy it and not have to worry about shoveling too much. I hope all of you fine people have a great rest of your week.
Happy New Year. Happy 2022.
Happy 2022. Hopefully this year doesn't fly by in 7 days like 2021 did.
The only thing negative about this year should be your COVID tests.
Yes,
Period.
sir.
Get vaccinated.
Yes, sir.
All right, bye. Bye, Miss Carol.
Bye.